Welcome back. Open your book to page 179. We're in lesson 12-2, and we're going to be talking about point slope form this time. And it's just like the name. We need a point, any point, and the slope. So first learning target is to write the equation of a line in point slope form. And then we're going to use point slope form in order to solve real life problems. So another form of the equation of a line is point slope form. Again, it's just like the name. We need a point on the line and the slope. Okay, that's when we're going to use this form. So again, just like before, m is always going to be our slope, so that's consistent. It's our rise over run, it's our rate of change. And then x sub 1, y sub 1 is a point on the line. Notice it does not, or it is not the y-intercept. Okay, this is a point on the line. So x sub 1 goes here, and y sub 1 goes there. So let's look at this example A that's given to us in your book. It says write an equation of the line with the slope of 1/2. So that's our m value, our first piece of information. And our second piece of information is that it passes through this point right here. And I'm just going to label it right away. So what we need to do is substitute our given values into point slope form. So this slope of 1/2 would go in for m, which you've seen they've done so there. And our y sub 1, our y coordinate is the 5, so that's going to go there. And you can see that they substituted 5 in. And the same thing with this 2 right here. It's going to be plugged in or substituted in for the x sub 1, and they've done that as well. Okay? Now, in order to graph this or to plot this on a coordinate plane, what we would do is we would plot our point given, our x1, y1, which is 2, 5. Okay, so on my graph, I'm going to go over to 2, and I'm going to go up to 5, and I would plot that first. And then I'm going to use my slope, which is my rise over run, which is 1/2. It's like a set of directions, remember? And I'm going to use that to draw more points on my line. So hopefully in your book, you've graphed 2, 5. Okay, and put your pencil, you can't see mine, but put it right on that point, and I want you to go up 1 space, over 2 spaces. So up 1 space, over 2 to the right. Keep at that dot, go up 1, over 2 spaces to the right, up 1, over 2 spaces to the right. Now, let's go back to our original point that we plotted, this 2, 5, and we're going to go down 1 and over 2 spaces to the left. And we're going to plot another point. Down 1, over 2 to the left, down 1, 2 to the left. And we would put as many points on this graph as we can. And then what we would do is you would take a ruler or a straight edge, and you would connect these, and the book has already done that for you with that black line. Okay, so when you're plotting, you're going to plot the point given, and then you would use the slope to plot as many points as you can to cover the entire graph. Okay? Go ahead and turn the page so that we see the try these A. We're going to write the equation, and I'll put point slope up here for you so that you can see what it is. And I want you to try question B. I will walk you through question A. So y minus y1, which is 7, equals our slope, which is 2/3, parentheses, x minus x1, which is -2. Well, we don't like to write it that way. It looks messy. We know that two negatives make a positive, so we are going to write +2. So notice our signs are the opposite. So my y1 was a +7, so in my formula it says minus or -7. My x1 was a -2, but in my formula, in my equation, it turns into a +2, a +2. Okay, but always, every single time, your slope, which in this case is 2/3, it's going to stay the same. Go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try question B. Do you have y plus 1? Can you explain why it becomes y plus 1? And then it's equals our slope, which is -5/4, times x minus 6. All right, C and D, let's go ahead and work backwards for these two. So I notice that I'm given an equation already in point slope form, and I need to find or determine the slope, which is m, for both of these, and the point on the line. So when you're writing the point, make sure you write it as an ordered pair. Okay, so I would like you to please pause the video, and I want you to try to see if you can come up with these. Make sure that you're paying close attention to your signs when you're writing your point. My slope here is 3/8. If you need to, in your equation, you could label this as x1 and y1 to hopefully cut down on any mistakes that you might make. Okay. So then when I write my point, remember my x1 comes first and my y1 comes second. The other thing we have to remember, it's always the opposite. So this is minus, and minus is part of my formula, so I know that this 3 has to be positive. And if this was a +4 up here, that means it started out as a -4 in order to turn into a positive in my equation, my formula. So same thing over here in question D. My slope always stays the same as what it appears in my equation, so it's a -5/2. And again, if it helps you, always label, take the time to do that so you don't make mistakes. My x1 comes first, and it must have started out as a -3 because it turned into a +3 in my equation. And then this y value over here is a 6. Okay, so opposite signs for your points. And be really careful, make sure you write your x first and your y second. A lot of times I have students that flip those around. All right, here we get into a story problem. The town of San Simon charges its residents for trash pickup and water usage on the same bill. Each month, the city charges a flat fee for trash pickup and a fee of 25 cents per gallon for water used. Remember that per, that's important. In January, one resident used 44 gallons of water and received a bill for $16. Go ahead and pause and reread that paragraph if you need to, and mark the text. Underline, highlight, circle, box in. If X is the number of gallons of water used during a month, Y represents the bill. We're going to write the point as X1, Y1. Okay, so in January, what is the number of gallons of water that they used? 44. So that's my X value for this point. And what's their total bill? 16. So here's the point that we're going to use for our point slope form. 44 gallons of water, $16 is the total amount. What do you think this fee of 25 cents per gallon stands for or represents here? The title of our lesson is Point Slope Form. We already have our point, so this must be our slope. And how do we know that? Because it's what we're changing by. It's our rate of change per gallon. And think about, everybody is going to use different amounts of water. Depends on how many people are in their house, how many times they're showering, running the dishwasher, washing dishes, washing clothes, things like that. Maybe they have a hose that they're using for their lawn. So this represents the slope. It doesn't matter how full or how empty your trash is, you all get charged the same amount, but what does change, think about how much electricity, heat, how much water, lights, things like that. Go ahead and answer question 3. Use point slope form. And if you don't remember what it is, you can turn your page back or write it at the top of this page. Point slope form to write an equation to represent the bill cost Y in terms of the number of gallons of water X used in a month. So you have the point X1, Y1 from question 1. You have the slope here in question 2. Go ahead and answer question 3. So Y minus 16 equals our slope, X minus 44. Hopefully you got that. I'm going to help walk you through question 4 because it wants us to write the equation above from question 3 in slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So what's alone on the left-hand side? What's the very first variable that I wrote down? Y. So we want to get y all by itself. Okay? So we're going to do a few steps here in order to accomplish that. Forgot my parentheses. The first thing that we need to do is to get rid of those parentheses. How do I do that? What's the process? It starts with the D. Distribute. So 0.25 times x. Then you can use the calculator if you need it. 0.25 times negative 44. What's a quarter of negative 44? Hopefully you got negative 11. Okay, but I still am not done because I have not fully solved for y yet. I see that y is not alone on one side. There is a minus 16 after that. So I want to take that and move it over to the other side. So do the opposite operation. So add 16. I can't add 16 to an x, to a variable, so I'm going to write plus 16 under that negative 11. So now y equals 0.25x. What's negative 11 plus 16? We get 5. So what's my slope here? My slope is 0.25. That hasn't changed, right? That is what you get charged per gallon of water used. But what is this 5? This 5 is your y-intercept. And notice what the question says. What does the y-intercept represent? Well, if I go back up to the original question, I read and I underlined the very first thing here. Each month, the city charges a flat fee for trash pickup. Oh, so this $5 represents the flat fee for trash pickup. That's what your y-intercept is. That's what this $5 is. So we just went from point slope to slope-intercept form. All right, question 5. I want you to pause the video and do this by yourself. You're going to write the equation in point-slope form. Here's your point. Here's your slope. You can do it. Y minus 125 equals slope x minus 86. All right, question 6 is another story problem. Violet has an internet business selling paint sets. After an initial website fee each week, she makes a profit of 75 cents on each set she sells. If she sells 8 sets, she makes $2.25. Write an equation representing her weekly possible earnings. Okay, what's the title of the lesson at the top of your book? Point slope form. So you need to figure out from this question what your point is and what your slope is, and then you're going to write it in point slope form just like question 5. So go ahead and pause, and I really want you to try this. You can do it. I have confidence in you. I don't see the word per, which usually is used when we're talking about slope. So the other word that I could pay attention to is each set. And that's changing because one day she could sell 10 sets. A different day, maybe she only sells 3 sets. Another day, it's close to Christmas and she sells 25 sets. So that's changing. That's our rate of change. That's our slope. So then our point would be 8 is the amount that she sells. 225 is the amount of money she makes. So writing it out, y minus 2.25 equals slope x minus 8. Hopefully point slope is starting to make sense to you. Again, if it helps, always take time to label